In just 57 seconds, one of Hollywood's most respected actors completely lost his cool, shut down a television icon in front of millions of viewers, and walked off one of daytime TV's biggest stages. What you're about to hear is the fiery argument that destroyed a friendship decades in the making, exposed deep Hollywood tensions, and left an entire studio audience in shocked silence. Before we dive into this explosive story, make sure you subscribe to this channel for daily videos exposing Hollywood's darkest scandals. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single moment of the truth behind the glamour. Last night on The View, what started as a conversation about Denzel Washington's latest film turned into an absolute disaster. The tension was thick from the moment he walked onto that stage. You could see it in his face. You could feel it in the room. Something was about to go very, very wrong. Whoopi Goldberg opened the segment with what seemed like a simple question, but the way she asked it had an edge that cut through the studio. So Denzel, your new film has some interesting choices in terms of representation. Some people are saying you've gone a bit safe with this one. What do you say to that? Denzel's jaw tightened. He leaned back in his chair, taking a moment before responding. Safe? I'm not sure what you mean by that, Whoopi. I made the film I wanted to make. I told the story that needed to be told. Whoopi wasn't letting it go. She had this look in her eyes, like she was hunting for something bigger. But come on, Denzel. You've been in this industry long enough. You know what I'm talking about. There are certain expectations when someone like you makes a film. People want to see you push boundaries, not play it comfortable. The other hosts shifted uncomfortably in their seats. They could sense where this was heading. Denzel's face remained calm, but his voice dropped lower, more controlled. Whoopi, I've been pushing boundaries my entire career. I don't need to prove anything to anyone, certainly not on this stage. That's when Whoopi made her first big mistake. She laughed. Not a friendly laugh, but one of those dismissive laughs that makes your blood boil. Oh, so now we're too good for honest conversation? I remember when you used to appreciate real talk. Denzel's eyes narrowed. Real talk? Is that what we're calling this? Because from where I'm sitting, this feels like an ambush disguised as an interview. The studio went quiet. The audience didn't know whether to gasp or stay silent. Whoopi's co-hosts looked at each other with wide eyes, nobody wanting to jump into this fire that was just starting to rage. Whoopi leaned forward, her voice getting sharper. An ambush? Denzel, I'm asking you legitimate questions about your work. If you can't handle that, maybe you shouldn't be here. Maybe I shouldn't be here? Denzel repeated slowly, his voice carrying a dangerous edge now. You invited me on this show, Whoopi. You said you wanted to talk about the film. Instead, you're sitting here trying to tear me down in front of these cameras. Whoopi shook her head, but there was something in her expression that showed she knew she'd crossed a line. Still, she pushed forward. I'm not tearing you down. I'm holding you accountable. There's a difference. Denzel stood up from his chair slightly, then caught himself and sat back down. He took a deep breath, clearly trying to maintain his composure. Accountable for what exactly? For making the film I wanted to make? For not asking your permission? Help me understand what I'm being held accountable for here. The tension in the studio was suffocating now. One of the other hosts tried to interject, saying something about taking a commercial break. But Whoopi waved her hand dismissively. She was locked in now, and she wasn't backing down. You know what your problem is, Denzel? Whoopi said, her voice rising. You've been on that pedestal so long, you forgot what it's like to be questioned. You forgot what it's like when someone doesn't just bow down and praise everything you do. Denzel's laugh was cold and humorless. My problem? You want to talk about problems, Whoopi? Let's talk about how you invited me here under false pretenses. Let's talk about how you're using this platform to push some kind of agenda instead of having a real conversation. Whoopi's face flushed red. Don't you dare accuse me of having an agenda. I've been honest in this industry longer than most. I don't play games, Denzel. Could have fooled me. Denzel shot back immediately. Because this whole thing feels like a game. A game where you get to be the hero by taking shots at someone who thought they were coming here as a friend. The word friend hung in the air like a grenade that had just gone off. Whoopi's expression changed. Something flickered across her face. Pain mixed with anger. A friend? A friend would understand what I'm trying to do here. A friend would engage with the questions instead of acting like they're above it all. Denzel stood up completely this time. He didn't sit back down. His voice was measured but firm, and everyone in that studio knew this was the point of no return. I'm not above anything, Whoopi. But I'm also not going to sit here and let you disrespect me and my work on national television. If you had real questions, you could have called me. We could have had a private conversation, but you wanted to do this here, in front of cameras, to make yourself look good. Whoopi stood up too, facing him across the table. Make myself look good? Everything isn't about you, Denzel. Maybe, just maybe, I'm asking these questions because they need to be asked. Because someone needs to challenge you. Challenge me? Denzel's voice rose for the first time, and it was powerful, commanding. You think this is a challenge? This is disrespect wrapped up in fake concern. This is you trying to score points with an audience by taking down someone you claim to respect. The producers were clearly panicking behind the cameras. You could see people moving frantically in the background, but nobody was stopping this. It was too real, too raw, too explosive to interrupt now. Whoopi pointed her finger at Denzel, her hand shaking slightly. You don't get to tell me what my intentions are. You don't get to come on my show and act like you're being attacked when all I'm doing is my job. Your job? Denzel repeated, his voice dripping with disbelief. Your job is to ambush guests? Your job is to create conflict where there doesn't need to be any? Because if that's your job, Whoopi, then congratulations. You're doing it perfectly. One of the other hosts finally found her voice and tried to calm things down. Guys, maybe we should all just take a breath here. No, Whoopi cut her off sharply, not taking her eyes off Denzel. We're not taking a breath. We're going to finish this conversation. Denzel laughed again, but this time it was mixed with genuine anger. Conversation? You call this a conversation? This is a interrogation. This is you sitting up there on your high horse, judging me, questioning my choices, my integrity, my career. And for what? For ratings? Whoopi's face contorted with rage. How dare you? How dare you question my integrity? I've been doing this for decades, Denzel. I've earned the right to ask tough questions. Tough questions? Denzel's voice was incredulous now. These aren't tough questions. Tough questions come from a place of curiosity, from wanting to understand. What you're doing is trying to provoke me, trying to get me to react so you can have your viral moment. The audience was completely silent now. Some people looked uncomfortable. Others looked riveted. This wasn't entertainment anymore. This was real conflict playing out in real time. You could see audience members whispering to each other, phones coming out despite the rules against it, everyone knowing they were witnessing something extraordinary. Whoopi threw her hands up in the air, her voice getting louder with each word. You know what? If you feel that way, then maybe you should leave. Maybe you should walk off this stage if you can't handle a real conversation. Because clearly, you're not capable of having one. Not capable? Denzel's voice was sharp as a knife. I've been trying to have a conversation this entire time. But you can't have a conversation with someone who's already decided what story they want to tell. You decided before I even walked on this stage that you were going to make me look bad, didn't you? Whoopi's face flushed darker. That's paranoid, Denzel. That's absolutely paranoid. I didn't decide anything except that I was going to ask you real questions instead of lobbing you softballs. Real questions, Denzel repeated, his frustration building. You keep hiding behind that phrase like it justifies everything. But real journalists, real interviewers, they ask tough questions with respect. They challenge people without attacking them. You've done nothing but attack me since I sat down. Denzel stared at her for a long moment. His chest was rising and falling with controlled breaths. When he spoke again, his voice was quiet but somehow more powerful than when he'd been shouting. That's what you want, isn't it? You want me to walk off so you can play the victim, so you can tell everyone how I couldn't handle your questions. Well, you know what, Whoopi? I'm not going to give you that satisfaction. But then Whoopi made her biggest mistake of the night. She smirked. Actually smirked at him while he was standing there trying to maintain his dignity. Oh, really? Then sit down and answer the questions. That smirk was the final straw. Something in Denzel's expression changed completely. The anger was still there, but now it was mixed with something else. Disappointment. Deep, profound disappointment. You know what the saddest part of all this is? Denzel said, his voice now calm but carrying a weight that made everyone lean in to hear. I actually respected you, Whoopi. I looked up to you. I thought you were someone who lifted people up, who used your platform for good. But this isn't about asking hard questions or holding people accountable. This is about ego. This is about you needing to prove you're still relevant by tearing down people who trusted you. Whoopi's face went pale. That's not fair, Denzel. That's not what this is, isn't it? Denzel challenged. Then tell me what this is. Explain to me why you invited me here if all you wanted to do was attack me. Explain why a simple conversation about a film turned into this circus. Whoopi opened her mouth to respond, but nothing came out at first. When she finally spoke, her voice was defensive and sharp. I invited you here because I thought you could handle an honest conversation. I thought you were big enough to face some criticism. But clearly, I was wrong. Denzel nodded slowly, like he'd just confirmed something he already knew. There it is, the real Whoopi Goldberg. Not the one who pretends to be everyone's friend on camera, the one who tears people down when they don't perform the way she wants them to. That is not fair, Whoopi shouted, her composure completely gone now. You're twisting my words. You're making me out to be some kind of villain when all I did was ask you some damn questions. Questions? Denzel's voice rose to match hers. You call what you did asking questions? You challenged my integrity from the moment I sat down. You implied I was playing it safe, that I wasn't pushing boundaries, that I wasn't living up to some standard that you apparently get to set. The other hosts were frozen. The cameras kept rolling. The audience didn't make a sound. This was beyond awkward now. This was watching a friendship implode in real time. Whoopi's hands were shaking as she pointed at Denzel again. I never said you weren't pushing boundaries. I asked you about the choices you made. There's a difference. The way you asked the question, Denzel said, his voice dropping low again. The tone you used, the disrespect in your voice. That's what this is about, Whoopi. You didn't ask me as a colleague. You didn't ask me as a friend. You asked me like I was someone you needed to put in their place. Oh, please! Whoopi threw her hands up again. You're being so sensitive right now. You're acting like I attacked you personally when all I did was challenge your work. My work is personal. Denzel's voice boomed through the studio. Every film I make, every choice I make, it comes from here. He tapped his chest hard. You don't get to separate the two. And when you disrespect my work, you disrespect me. Whoopi stepped back, her face a mixture of anger and something else. Maybe realization, maybe regret, but she wasn't backing down. Fine. If you can't separate criticism of your work from personal attacks, then maybe you need to grow thicker skin. The silence that followed was deafening. Even the other hosts looked shocked that Whoopi had said that. Denzel just stared at her. And in that moment, you could see years of respect and admiration crumbling. Thick skin, Denzel repeated softly. You think this is about thick skin? Whoopi, I've been in this industry for over 40 years. I've faced racism, discrimination, and every kind of criticism you can imagine. I have thick skin. What I don't have is tolerance for fake friends who smile in your face and then stab you in the back when the cameras are on. Whoopi's mouth opened in shock. I never stabbed you in the back. Then, what do you call this? Denzel gestured at the whole set. What do you call inviting me here under the guise of promoting my film and then spending the entire time trying to tear me down? What do you call trying to create controversy where there is none? If that's not a stab in the back, I don't know what is. One of the producers tried to signal for a commercial break again, but both Denzel and Whoopi ignored it. They were locked in now, and there was no stopping this train wreck. Whoopi's voice cracked slightly when she spoke next. I thought I could have an honest conversation with you. I thought we were beyond the superficial Hollywood BS. I thought you could handle real questions. Real questions, Denzel repeated, shaking his head. You keep saying that like it means something. But real questions come from a place of respect. They come from genuine curiosity. What you did wasn't real questions, Whoopi. It was an ambush, and we both know it. Whoopi slammed her hand on the table, making everyone jump. Stop saying I ambushed you! God, you're so paranoid! Maybe the problem isn't me, Denzel. Maybe the problem is that you can't accept that not everyone is going to kiss your ass and tell you everything you do is perfect. The curse word shocked everyone. This was daytime television. This wasn't supposed to happen. But it showed just how far things had deteriorated. Denzel's voice went cold. I never asked anyone to kiss my ass. I never expected perfection. What I expected was basic professional courtesy. What I expected was to be treated with the same respect I would give you. But clearly, that was too much to ask. Whoopi was breathing hard now, her chest heaving. You want respect? You earn respect by being willing to engage, by being willing to defend your work, by not running away the second someone challenges you. I'm not running away, Denzel said firmly. I'm standing right here. I've answered your questions. I've engaged with you even though every question felt like an attack. But you know what? I'm done. I'm done trying to have a reasonable conversation with someone who clearly has an axe to grind. Whoopi's eyes blazed. An axe to grind? What the hell are you talking about? I don't have an axe to grind. I have standards. I have expectations. And when someone I respect doesn't live up to them, yeah, I'm going to say something. Standards, Denzel said, his voice full of disbelief. You want to talk about standards? Let's talk about the standard of treating your guests with respect. Let's talk about the standard of honest journalism instead of gotcha questions. Let's talk about the standard of not using your platform to tear down people who thought you were their friend. The word friend came up again, and this time Whoopi flinched. We are friends, Denzel. That's why I thought I could be honest with you. Friends don't do this to each other, Denzel said, and there was sadness in his voice now, mixed with the anger. Friends don't publicly humiliate each other. Friends don't invite you on their show just to try and make you look bad. That's not friendship, Whoopi. That's betrayal. Whoopi's face crumpled for a second before the anger returned. Betrayal? Oh, that's rich coming from you. You're the one standing there acting like you're above criticism. You're the one who can't handle a simple conversation without playing the victim. Playing the victim? Denzel's voice rose sharply. I'm not playing anything. I'm calling out what's happening here. I'm refusing to let you gaslight me into thinking this is normal or acceptable. The tension reached its breaking point. You could feel it in the air, thick and suffocating. Something had to give. Whoopi stepped closer to the edge of the table, her voice shaking with rage. You know what your real problem is, Denzel? You've surrounded yourself with yes men for so long that you forgot what it's like when someone tells you the truth. You forgot what it's like to be challenged. And now when someone finally does it, you can't handle it. Denzel's jaw clenched so tight you could see the muscles working. The truth? You want to talk about truth? Here's the truth, Whoopi. You brought me here not because you cared about my film, not because you wanted to have a meaningful conversation. You brought me here because you wanted a moment. You wanted drama. You wanted to prove something to your audience, to yourself, I don't even know. But it had nothing to do with me or my work. That's bull, Whoopi shouted. Everything isn't about you and your ego. My ego? Denzel laughed, but there was no humor in it. This entire show is about your ego. You control the conversation. You set the tone. You decide who gets respect and who gets torn apart. And God forbid someone calls you out on it. The other hosts had given up trying to intervene. They sat there like deer in headlights, watching two Hollywood giants destroy each other on live television. Whoopi pointed at Denzel, her finger trembling. Get out. If you feel that way, if you think so little of me in this show, then get the hell out. Denzel stared at her for a long moment. The studio was so quiet you could hear the cameras humming. When he spoke, his voice was deadly calm. Is that what you really want? You want me to leave so you can tell everyone how I couldn't handle your questions? So you can play the victim and act like I'm the bad guy here? I want you to leave because clearly we can't have a civilized conversation, Whoopi said, her voice icy. I want you to leave because you're being disrespectful to me and my show. Denzel laughed again. That cold, humorless laugh. Disrespectful? That's incredible. That is truly incredible. I'm being disrespectful by defending myself against your attacks. That's rich, Whoopi. That's really rich. They weren't attacks, Whoopi screamed, completely losing control now. They were questions, legitimate questions. And if you can't see the difference, then yeah, you need to leave. The moment hung there, suspended in time. Denzel looked at Whoopi like he was seeing her for the first time. Like he was finally understanding who she really was underneath the persona she showed the world. and what he saw clearly disappointed him deeply. "You know what?" Denzel said quietly, straightening his jacket. "You're right. I do need to leave. Not because I can't handle your questions, not because I'm running away, but because I have too much respect for myself to sit here and be treated like this." He started to remove his microphone, his movements deliberate and controlled. Whoopi watched him, her face a mask of conflicting emotions, anger, regret, pride, all battling for dominance. "That's right, run away," Whoopi said, but her voice had lost some of its fire. "That's what people do when they can't handle the truth." Denzel paused, the microphone half off. He looked at her one more time, and when he spoke, his voice cut through everything else. "The truth? You want the truth, Whoopi? The truth is, you used to be someone special, someone who lifted people up, someone who made others feel valued. But somewhere along the way, you lost that. You became exactly what you used to fight against. And that's the saddest thing about this whole situation." Whoopi's face went white. For a moment, she looked like she might say something, might try to defend herself or apologize. But the moment passed, and the hardness returned to her features. "Get off my stage," she said, her voice cold and final. Denzel finished removing his microphone and placed it carefully on the chair. He looked out at the audience, who sat in stunned silence, then back at the cameras. "I came here today to talk about a film I'm proud of, a project I poured my heart into. Instead, I was disrespected and attacked by someone I thought was a friend. I hope people watching this understand what really happened here today." He turned and walked toward the exit. Nobody stopped him. Nobody said anything. The other hosts sat frozen. Whoopi stood rigid at the table, and the audience remained eerily quiet. Just before he reached the exit, Denzel stopped and turned back one last time. "You know what the worst part is, Whoopi? I would have answered any question you had if you just treated me with basic respect. All of this, all this drama, all this conflict, it didn't have to happen. You chose this. Remember that." And with those final words hanging in the air, Denzel Washington walked off the View's stage, leaving behind a stunned studio, a speechless host, and one of the most explosive confrontations in daytime television history. The cameras kept rolling as Whoopi stood there, her face a mixture of anger and something that might have been regret, while her co-hosts exchanged horrified glances, knowing they had just witnessed something that would be talked about for years to come. The studio remained silent, the weight of what had just happened settling over everyone like a heavy blanket. And somewhere in America, millions of viewers sat in shock, having witnessed the moment when two Hollywood legends destroyed their friendship in spectacular fashion on live television.